Hello and welcome. This is Sunrise Daily, and I'm here in Lagos. Just a quick reminder, today is November 2, 2022, and we're counting down to the general elections, most certainly, no doubt. I don't know if my colleagues in Abuja are ready right now, guys.
Ready, bro. Always ready. And, well, when you say it's November 2, I thought, okay. Oh, 2nd, 2. I didn't catch up real quick. Sorry, I was slow on that one. But yes, indeed, a very good morning to you all. Welcome to Sunrise Today. I am Chamberlain Oso.
From Abuja, good morning. I'm Maokwe Yusuf.
I mean, it was still shocking. I think the family of the videos will be still trying to grapple with what happened. I mean, the loss of anyone, any family member, your son, your daughter, will always hit anyone very hard. And so they're still trying to grapple with what transpired. And so condolences will be in place, appropriate, as a matter of fact, to the family and everyone connected with that one. So sometimes you just wonder, the kind of shock, you know, when those kind of scenarios happen. It will always be very hard.
Especially when a child is involved, you know, a little child, you know, who died in a very helpless situation. I mean, it was a situation that, you know, the police are still investigating, but when you hear that a child died of drowning, it was a really terrible way for anyone at all to die, not to now talk of a child. You know, there'll be lots of questions to be answered. The sad thing is that, you know, the answers will never bring back that child, but it is in the hope that, you know, other parents can be cautious and that we can prevent such deaths in future. And I hope that the family too will be able to find closure over that. Oh,
absolutely, absolutely. And then yesterday as well, the AFCC, they were involved in some arrest, and it had to do with this Kogi State House of Assembly candidate for the NNPP, Ismaila Yusuf Fatumei. They said the AFCC arrested him with about 326 million naira and $140,000 cash.
Wow.
Wow. And he, at the moment, is seeking to represent, I think it's what, Ankpa 11 constituency, that's in the Kogi State House of Assembly. So the commission says that he was arrested on October 30, that's on a Sunday, alongside one Joshua Dominic, an alleged serial fraudster. It was a sting operation carried out, guess where? In Abuja, in Queen's Estate, Gwarimpa, Abuja. And the commission also says that in connection with that, they also arrested a certain Abdul Malik Salao, a former bank employee, a former bank employee who allegedly supplied the inside information, and that inside information facilitated the attack on the bank by the syndicate. It was then picked up on Tuesday, November 1st, at Radisson Blue Hotel in Lagos. And following his arrest, a search was conducted on his home in Morgan Estates, Ojodu, where a total of, wait for this, $470,000 was recovered, I beg your pardon. That amount of money was recovered. So the commission says there were months of investigation into the hacking of one of the commercial banks by a syndicate of fraudsters who pulled off a heist of, this one is also huge, 1.4 billion naira. Wow. There you go. So many dynamics on this one. So the insider details, how they collude, and you know that there's several people who've always looked to this kind of scenarios, talking about the insider details, how the banks need to step up in terms of ensure that they keep having this kind of stringent measure and review processes of their members of staff, because you're dealing with customers' funds. You just have to put those measures in place. It's not about trusting people or not. Those measures have got to be there, because there are several people who say, look, even when they get to banks and just open an account, fraudsters start calling them. And you just, what is going on? So these are some of the things that people are facing. Even when they defraud certain people, the former bankers, even some of the people who work in the banks, they work with the police. So the syndicate is, well, kudos to the commission. Now they have to go to the courts.
Well, I also know that in terms of this syndicate, if you also investigate, you might find out that the EFCC is not completely immune. I mean, when you talk about the syndicate working with the police, don't be surprised if you also hear that, you know, they've extended their tentacles to the EFCC. Because take a look at this. This gentleman who said, I don't know if he's gentle now, if he can be described as a gentleman at all. This gentleman who was arrested alongside them, I think his name is Dominic, they said he's been arrested for fraud on several occasions. Wow. And he was the one who helped Atumei perfect the hacking plan through Abdul Malik. So I believe that's the chubby guy who was, you know, covering his face. They say he's a self-styled investment expert and managing director of Brisk Capital Limited, who was arrested in 2021. And he was arrested by the Nigeria police for an alleged 2 billion naira investment scam. So it's all very, these days when you hear people, everybody wants to try and make money. Everybody wants to double their money. So, you know, people are investing in all manner of things. I don't want to mention crypto here, but you know, even in things that they do not understand, as long as their monies are doubled at the end of the day, or as long as they're making some, you know, significant returns, they really do not want to know the how. What I'm curious, what I really am curious about is how they were able to withdraw the money. Because what we're seeing there are bag loads of money. It's one thing for you to be able to wire money into you know, a certain account, and then at the end of the day, you withdraw all of that in cash. You withdraw all of that in, okay, well, from what we also see here, they were also paying different BDCs in exchange for what it was that they were getting. Trying to buy brand new cars, etc., etc. So I don't know, the anti-fraud agencies, the EFCC really needs to up its game. Fraud is on a new high. It does seem to me that we're back in the days when we actually got the name 419. As you rightly highlighted, Chamberlain, these days you open a bank account and in less than 2 weeks, you'll start getting phone calls allegedly from within the bank. I mean, if the people are not within the bank, they're certainly feeding outsiders this information. And a lot of people have fallen victim, especially vulnerable people, you know, people who are not very aware. Even though the banks seem to be doing some work now, anytime they give you some new detail for your banking account, they will tell you, on no account should you give this information out. But the people who call them, they usually have some information that only bankers, you know, would normally have. So oftentimes the people who fall victim are usually not aware. I mean, they think the calls usually are coming from the bank. It's just that right now, because the hunter is learning to shoot without missing, people also need to learn to fly. I mean, the bird needs to learn to fly without perching. So people now say, look, okay, we'll come to the bank and come and see how we can rectify whatever it is you say we should rectify. And then that's when things fall apart. So I don't know. We need to really up our game. Fraud is at an all-time high. I know this is not just a Nigerian thing in terms of the fraud circle that is, you know, the syndicates that are expanding throughout the world. But when you consider our high unemployment rate and the fact that people are now wanting to make quick money without working for it, then we need to, you know, we need to find how to up our game too, with regards to making sure that we catch these people and bring them into the net.
Yeah.
Well, guys, you know, you couldn't have said it, you know, better. First, I'd like to add my voice to what you started with, lady and gentleman, about Davido's loss. It's only he who feels it and knows it. It's just unimaginable. Again, our condolences. But you see, one angle that I would like to speak to Maokwe in the issues that you raised is that many times people just enjoy the fact that, oh, this person is doing this, I like to be like him. This person is doing that, I like to be like him. Not remembering what an African adage says, that the base of wealth is sometimes rotten. So you find also, you know, it's perhaps in the same breath, an NDLA word put out, declaring some fellow wanted in Lagos, some Lagos socialite wanted in Lagos. And the one that you've talked about, that happened to that fellow of Kogi extraction, one wonders exactly when it started and how that people have urged him on and on, assigned people to him and stuff like that. So I'm just hoping, just as you said, Mark, where the complicity of security operatives, one wonders exactly, where it comes from and how that can be addressed. And I just hope that we have enough checks and balances within all of our systems to ensure that we not only identify, people who are complicit within our organizations, but also ensure that those things don't happen at all. Because if such things should be identified and they subsist, the fears of the trust quotient between the government and the governed, between the government and security operatives, may continually wane. That's, God forbid. Guys.
You raise a very, very valid point concerning some of these things, guys. And sometimes you look through the agencies, much as, yes, you have commissions, AFCC, you have people who will be doing the jobs as diligently as possible, then you have the bad elements amongst them. You have them in the police, you have them in the SFU, special fraudulent. Look, don't even bother about taking your matter to SFU, because I don't know anybody who's got any results taking any case to the SFU, for instance. You could stay years there, and then they ask you have to fund this for your cases to be investigated. There's no allocation. You have to fund this and fund that. So government really needs to look into these agencies and ensure that they actually are there to do what they are set up to do. But that said, we'll go to the dailies in just a moment. Welcome back. Let's take you through some of the dailies. We'll start with leadership newspaper today. 2023 campaign. Atiku, Tinubu, Kwankwaso offer solutions to ailing economy. APC flag bearer targets 10% GDP growth. I'm in US to attract investment to Nigeria. XVP. Okay, looks like he spoke to VOA House of Service. And then, of course, news hounds here will say, wait a minute. Do we have that same media round going on in this country for different media houses? You keep asking, why do politicians always go to go address... To go abroad, eh? And then we hear from them when they're abroad. Yeah, what policy decisions they've taken here. The president did it too. Several of them just keep doing it. Meanwhile, for some of these organizations over there, when these ones are in trouble here, they come back here to salvage their image. Is this a sign of what is to come? Or maybe it was just an opportunity that they seized, and try to make the most of it? Well, they'll give it all sorts of perspectives, trying to avoid the word spin. But, you get all sorts of items there. They'll do what they have to do, I guess, to get any mileage and clinch or breast the tape first, which is what they all want to do. And I look at the other writers. Our job creation plan will reposition the economy. NMPP candidate. Naira depreciates further to 800 Naira at parallel market. Wow. Okay, there you go. Redesigning Naira won't check rising inflation, ascribed to analysts. Then you see, ignore G5 at your own peril. Autumn warns PDP. So that is leadership today. The Guardian has this one for you. 2023, rift widens in Southwest over Afeniferi's endorsement style. Look at this. Conscience of Yoruba nation endorsed Tinubu, not Afenifere.
I remain a Afenifere leader. We're backing Tinubu, Fashoranti insists. Southwest students ask Adebanjo to set aside grudges, adopt Tinubu. Tinubu woos private sector, promises double GDP if he wins. Manifestos not enough. Walk the talk, experts tell presidential candidates. Can they walk the talk before they got him into office?
I just wonder what they mean by
walk the talk. But I don't know, just, curious. Page 6 might satisfy your curiosity if you like me.
One person can walk the talk.
Yes,
only one person can
only
win.
one at a time. But well, let us look at this. Stakeholders canvass retooling of eligible customer policy as 9,000 megawatts power remains stranded. We need electricity and power is stranded. What is going on? Page 6 might fill you in. Look at this picture. It's a picture we're used to now. Perennial state of things. No respite for motorists as fuel queues persist at most filling stations in Lagos. So, Ayo, you'll give us a situation update. In Abuja, it looks like it's eased somewhat. Today you see, tomorrow you don't see, but looks like the queues are disappearing quite a bit. We do not know what's responsible for that, but whatever it is, if Lagos is not settled, we're not very certain that Abuja will be settled for long. So we're hoping that Lagos will be settled soon. You have a number of other stories on top of the nameplate. I'll leave you, just beneath the nameplate, I'll leave you to do that yourself. Let's leave it there for the Guardian newspapers.
Page of the Nigerian News Direct. And by the way, the issue you raised, well, it perhaps depends on what part of Lagos you go to, but seems to have abated quite a bit in some areas. Look at the front page, and you just talked about power, but what do you find on the front page? $6 billion Mambila power project, litigation, EFCC probe, frustrate execution, as ascribed to the minister. I assume that this is not something that's just starting, but hey, details you'll find on page 21 as lawmakers lament frustration amid huge budgetary allocations. Guys, shouldn't we begin to ask the question, before you get the next budgetary allocation, account for the one you spent before? Okay, maybe that's what the Accountant General's report is for, but then we don't get the report until, like, say, 3-4 years after. Anyway, that's what you have on the front page of the paper. Mine and steel revenue rises from 5 billion naira to 7 billion naira in 6 years. Cheering, right? All the details you'll find on the inside pages. That's the Nigerian News Direct this morning.
Headline from this particular one. So Daily Times says it's about 2023. No plan to remove INEC chairman. Additional urges journalists not to give attention to people with hidden intention to disrupt 2023 polls. But the thing is, journalists would expose them. I think that's part of the responsibility they've got to ensure that those things don't just go without highlighting them with a view to stopping it. But at the bottom strip, FG owes highway contractors 10.4 trillion naira, ascribed to Fashola, says young engineers, technical officers, highly needed in works ministry. There's vacancy, guys.
Repete?
Yeah, young ones, as a matter of fact, young engineers, technical officers, highly needed in the works ministry. So send your CVs, right? Oh, I think that's usually the procedure.
Send your CVs to who? You have to be specific before your office is flooded with CVs.
What? You said they're needed. And another word for needed is vacancy in that place. So
they should send their CVs to you?
No, to the minister. I'm not the one in charge of it. Well, look for the minister's PA or SCA, bombard him with your CVs. It says they're needed there, so you never can tell. That's Daily Times this morning anyways.
Daily Trust has this one, a very disturbing story here. Parents cry out as bandits abduct 39 children from Katsina farm. 2 soldiers, 25 ISWAP fighters killed in gun duel in Borno. Don't ignore US-UK terror alert, reps tell federal government. We've devised tactics to overwhelm enemies. That's coming from the Chief of Army Staff. Page 4 will give you all of the details there. But this is a very disturbing story. Parents cry out as bandits abduct 39 children. 39 is a lot of children from Katsina farm. So let's hope that the security agencies will not let the cry of these parents go in vain, and that they will be able to get the children back from the people who have taken them. Look at this, EFCC probing Mambila project. That's according to the Power Minister. Is that why it's stalled? Details will be on page 27. How I will end insecurity, create jobs, boost economy. That's from Kwan Kwan, so that will also be there. Just beneath the nameplate, you have a number of other stories. But take a look at this. Tension in Edo community as 10 corpses found inside bush. Okay, what are they doing there?
Oh dear.
You might want to see page. How did they get there? You know, what exactly is happening? It's a very terrible situation. And you also see, just reflecting also the fuel scarcity, which, you know, is still in parts of Abuja. You see it now, you don't. The picture there is very telling. A miner dispenses black market fuel into the tank of a dispatch rider in Jabi, Abuja yesterday. I mean, the stories of this people, the black market merchants, you know, will also be quite a telling one. What exactly are their stories? Because when there's fuel scarcity, you just see them line up the whole of Airport Road, you know, maybe at least 20 in as many kilometers or even less. And you have to ask, you know, when there is no fuel scarcity, what are these young ones doing? You know, who cares for them? Are they employed? Are they going to school? If we're not asking these questions, you know, it's no surprise that we're where we are when it comes to security. So, but let the picture speak to you this morning. Let's leave it there for Daily Trust.
And I think it is only important for us to emphasize at that point, Maokwe, that the primary responsibility of government is not just security, but welfare of the citizens, and they include children. Let's bear that in mind. This Nigeria newspaper has this one on its front page. US, UK terror alert hit nation's economy hard, says FG. The details of the story you'll find on the inside pages. And that other one that we mentioned earlier, EFCC probing $6 billion Mambila power project. That's ascribed to minister. Find the details on the inside pages. Well, that picture story is about Nigeria Mining Week, as you can see in the background, but then the details you'll find therein if you take a better look at it. Right under that picture, SAC, aviation workers lock down Lagos MMA2, disrupt flights. Story you'll find on pages 12 and 15. There's one rider, Lagos PDP MC Oluomo beg commercial drivers to suspend strike. Well, we understand that the Lagos state government has agreed to have a conversation with the drivers. Let's hope that that will put paid to the issue, especially in Lagos. Anti-graft agency arrests Kogi assembly candidate with 325 million naira, $610,500 cash. Jesus. The story is on page 5 of the paper this morning, and the issue we began with this morning is right beside the nameplate. Tears flow over death of singer Davido's son, Ifeanyi. Find the details on page 5 of this Nigeria Today.
Well, on to New Telegraph next. 2023, Tinubu Obi's endorsement splits Afenifere. I'm still Afenifere leader. We're supporting Tinubu, not Obi. Fashoranti says Adebanjo's book a stand, and I took a stand. I didn't call him, he didn't call me. So there you go. That's associated with that one there. And then, well, above this one, airport picketing, passengers stranded as over MMA2 closure. Airlines scramble for space at old terminal. So There you go. Article says, new notes. Nigeria's economy can't afford a naira devaluation, while AFCC probes the $6 billion Mambila power project. Okay. Then at the bottom strip here, surviving nationalist Mbazulike Amechi dies at 93. His unfulfilled dreams, stance on Nnamdi Kanu, Buhari, Ohaneze Ezefe Ngige, others pay tribute. So that's what you see here. But look at this study, guys. Playing video games linked to high intelligence in children.
I don't know if that's going to be sufficient reason for parents to just, release the kids and let them play on. And this does not apply to adults, please. The study is about children. So for the adults who are addicted to the video games on their phones, who think, oh, it's been linked to a high intelligence rate, it's not about you, please.
Maybe it will be higher intelligence then for the adults.
Than the adults I'm speaking to, they know themselves.
Oh, boy. Well, there are several other stories you could check out there with the Telegraph. That ends it with a look at some of the dailies here this morning. We will be back in a moment. Stay with us.
The chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, and national commissioners of the electoral body meet with heads of media organizations and leaders of civil society organizations in Abuja. The conference is one of those consultative meetings to keep the public abreast of preparations for the 2023 general elections.
Leaders of civil society.
The INEC chairman gives an update on the cleanup of the voters' register, noting that over 2.7 million people who earlier registered were weeded out for failing to meet the requirement. According to him, the cleanup exercise left 93,522,272 eligible voters in the preliminary register that will be published in November.
The display of the fiscal register will take place at the designated centers, that is at the wards and local governments, from Saturday 12th to Friday 25th November 2022. I would like to appeal to all Nigerians to seize the opportunity of the display to scrutinize the list and help us to clean it further so that the final register of voters for the 2023 general election can be compiled and published.
The electoral umpire also reiterated its stance on the use of the bimodal voter accreditation system, BVAS, in the forthcoming general elections.
Voters will be accredited by means of the bimodal voter accreditation system. There will be no incident form. Results will be transmitted to the INEC result viewing portal in real time on election day.
However, some members of the civil society organizations are asking INEC to scale up voter education ahead of the polls.
We've also noted as civil society organizations the need to continue to work together on efforts at enhancing voter education, sensitization, and dissemination of information around the elections. Most importantly, on the procedures for the elections, and in particular, the collection of the permanent voters card, which will start soon.
There is a new technology we are going to use this year, and that's the first time we're going to use it, and the director of ICT has been replaced. So we want to know why this is happening. It may be for good, but we need to know.
The 2023 general elections are only 4 months away, a time frame that many citizens want the electoral umpire to use to tighten any loose ends before the commencement of voting in February next year.
Back to Sunrise, they were focusing on preparations and the plans, methods, equipment, technology that the Commission is deploying for these elections. because it is upon that basis that lots and lots of enthusiasm seems to be predicated. Well, joining us this morning to give us his perspective, Professor Lai Ulurode, who is a former national commissioner with the commission, with INEC. Good morning, Prof. Thank you for coming on today.
Good morning. It's my pleasure to be with you.
Well, perhaps, yes, it's a new technology that we're going to use for general elections, for the first time. They use it in the States, 1 or 2 elections. But in terms of faith that people have in this, the optimism, the expectations, that would you advise, what would you advise? What, cautious optimism, or just go ahead and be outright optimistic? Because if the commission is beating their chest, saying, no, with this one, a lot of things will go right. So how should we approach this?
Well, number one, nobody should feel any sense of trepidation. There should be no fear entertained when it comes to deploying technology to resolving election conundrum. Our electoral history has been one of very sad experiences. We've had challenges. We've had election marauders all over the places. And in navigating the next general election, which has a kind of the possibility of a very competitive election, we cannot afford to give room to doubts in the methodology that INEC is going to deploy. Now, before Jega, the era of Jega in 2010, it was all fiasco. Jega's regime in INEC resolved some of these election fiasco and challenges. And since the assumption of office of the current commission, you've seen accretion, you've seen improvement in the deployment of election technology into determining the winner. That will not leave anybody in doubt. So I think we cannot continue to do this. Before it used to be the smart card reader, it had its own challenges. Now you have the bimodal verification and accreditation system. Before, we used to come in the morning to do, you identify whether your name is in the register, you get some printed or whatever, you get a mark on your, then you go back, then you come back. You go away from the polling unit, stay around, then you come back. But the use of beavers in Anambra, in Osun, are shown clearly that there's no other way to go.
But there was a huge challenge in Anambra.
Of course, there are elections. Look, Brazil just completed its election. There are challenges. There will be challenges. Even in the US, the election that sent Trump away was challenged. So there will be challenges. You have to live with challenges. But what is important is the neutrality, the impartiality of the election umpire. I'm not sure anybody today can raise an issue as to the neutrality of the commission. Since the time of Jega, they definitely should have their own they will have their own political preferences and interests, but they will not allow that to interfere with the election process.
Do you think that understanding has gone deeper into perhaps politicians? Because when you hear them talk about structure, asking this party whether or not you have this or you have people to help you do this and that, one wonders because...
No politician will be happy that you try to refine your electoral infrastructure. No.
Yeah, but
they want loopholes to be.
I get that.
You see, before 2015,
yeah,
before the revolution that took place in 2013, where you had the merger of CPC, AD, and
CPC, ACN.
We couldn't have had a robust outing in 2015.
The merger of the ACN.
Yes, that was a big revolution for the country. Then you begin to define your elections in terms of ideological tendencies, not seriously speaking ideological, but at least you have two major parties and the rest of the parties. So the parties should know what to do. If you want to win an election, you should know what to do. If you're a small party, you go into an election, you already get your result.
No party wants to be described as small.
No, but what I'm saying is that, you see, that you have major tendencies, you have minor tendencies.
Indeed.
Except we are kidding ourselves. We know the direction in which the country has moved.
Of course. I just wanted to, well, first, I think congratulations are in order. Today is Prof's birthday.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
It's supposed to be his last day in the university.
Yes, I'm taking my exit today.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Congratulations to you, sir. We wish you many more years in great health of mind and body. And thank you for your service to Nigeria.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
But looking at, I mean, because the very first question which my colleague asked about how we should approach this, I was going to ask, you know, looking at the evolution of INEC, because I know that you're not just looking at this as somebody who's been on the inside. You have written about it as well, you know, our democratic experience, and I'm sure you might also be looking at it in that regard. There are those who think that, you know, we can introduce all of the technology that we like. If we do not change our attitude towards election, a lot of the technological innovations which we're bringing in might only serve to make us feel better or make us feel a little confident in the process, but not necessarily change the outcome. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, number one, elections, we have often said, it's like a two-sided coin. One side of election planning, election administration is science. The other side is art. So election administrators have to be scientific because they have to follow procedure. It may not be exact. At the same time, they have to deploy discretion where it is necessary. If, for example, you go to an election as a presiding officer and somehow the technology was not working for you, the current methodology I understand INEC is deploying is that in every polling unit where you have up to 750 on the register, you deploy 1 beavers. Where you have more than that, you deploy 2. It's just to quicken the process. You see, time expenditure on elections since 2010 is going down. Before you go to it's a whole day affair.
Event.
Before. But now, you get there, the last election I participated, I didn't spend 5-10 minutes. It's done.
What election was that?
The election in Osun.
Okay, you participated.
Oh, I did as an elector.
As a voter?
As a voter, yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Now, that's very reassuring. That's good to note. But, you know, it doesn't...
So what I'm saying in a nutshell is that then, secondly, apart from getting your procedure right, science may go wrong. There's nothing unusual about that. Your phone disappoints you. Sometimes you want to get somebody. That's why you get 2 or 3, and so all of them can fail.
Professor should not disappoint us. We've spent a lot of money this time around, so there should be no such.
No.
Should be very, very
You have to wait. Spending money on election, having good elections, reducing the human agency in your election, improving the election infrastructure, securing the electoral process. Look, you have about 200,000, about 176 or thereabout polling units in the country. You will need to deploy security men and women to secure the polling unit for you. Is it not better than going to war? When crisis break out, look, 2020, was it 2011? The post-election violence in 2011. Many youth corps members were massacred, were killed in this country. Now, have you ever had that kind of thing now?
Well, we pray we never have it again.
Yes, and the only way you cannot have it is to do what? Is to improve on your election environment and making sure...
It's the environment precisely that I want you to address.
Yeah, the mindset, of course, the mindset of politicians, I don't think you can say their mindset is not shifting. At least they are submitting to this auditing by electors. Whether they like it or not, they've told them you cannot use hate language, you cannot be violent, you shouldn't want to defend the country in terms of its plurality. You must take Nigeria for what it is. We're a diverse country, and everybody must accommodate diversity if you want to go ahead as a nation. In America, when Trump tried to tamper with diversity, he was shown the exit gate. Anybody can be shown that gate, you know. So I think the power of the elector is increasing in my own assessment. because every improvement in making sure that you reduce election tragedy is a plus for Nigeria. And that's what you should be hearing now. As reassuring this morning, when the president has said nobody is planning to do away with beavers, it's reassuring because every technology deployed in the right direction in managing election is a plus for this country. Because we must be certain, especially 2023, INEC cannot afford to go wrong. We cannot afford to make great mistakes. Otherwise, you set the country ablaze.
Indeed, especially now. I mean, people are also looking at the fact that a lot of when you look at the contestants, the front runners, especially when you look at where they're from, 4 different parts of the country, 4 distinct parts of the country. And, you know, people are a little, let's say, or analysts are a little worried about that. Do you share their concern?
No, I think we shouldn't be worried. We should be happy. Our elections are becoming more interesting. They are becoming issue-focused. I've listened to the presidential candidates of the APC. Is talking about specifics. This is what I'm going to do for you on the economy. That's a plus for the country. You are forcing contestants to think policy and not to think ethnic or think religion. Governance is key. To get your governance right, I'm sure. I don't think most Nigerians care so much about whether you have this plus this ticket or this is the combination. What people are looking for is governance. I want to be able to eat. I want to be able to go out and return to my house. I want to be able to predict my movement. I want to feel secured. So any government that gives that guarantee, to me, it doesn't matter. To me, where he or she comes from, what his religion is secondary. But at least I know I'll be able to practice my religion. Religion should be personal. It's not something that should be in the public domain. You know, we've had it before. So it doesn't matter the combination, whatever you have. But let's give Nigerians the best. Let the best person win this election. I think we are moving in that direction. Of course, there are along the way, like M. K. Abiola once said, you cannot have a child without bloodshed. You have some splinters of blood here and there. But at the end of the day,
yeah, I mean, up to the people to decide what they want when they all present themselves before
we know
the
what
people.
They want. We know what they want. Everybody wants a good life. That's what they want. How?
Because all of them promise good life. All the candidates who promise you good life. They always do.
All the candidates, they have antecedents. You can measure who's able to do it because there's no guarantee. There may not be enough guarantee that tomorrow will be like today. But if you know today, you might be able to have a window into what tomorrow is likely to be.
You know, speaking about this process, Prof, quite a number of, much as yes, they've seen heard about the talk of beavers from the commission. Lots of young people were optimistic. Lots of people went out to register hoping that, well, if this were the case, then they think that their votes will count because it hasn't happened with general elections for us to know whether or not that will be the case. But there seems to be
that has been the case before.
For general elections.
Optimistic.
Yeah, we'll be optimistic, but it hasn't happened yet for general elections.
The election, the previous election before 2010, 2007.
No, I'm talking about those who just went to register because they were told that the beavers will work and their votes will count.
And they believe that it's going to work.
Yeah, so that hasn't happened, so I can't say it has worked for them.
We've seen it before. Anambra?
Not for general elections, Prof.
Yes, but this is the first time it's going to be different on a large scale.
That's what we're asking. How should we approach this? Because remember, when they had the smart card readers, INEC did that test. So when they did the test, some areas were 70%, others were 40%. Then on the day proper itself, the areas that had 70% turned out to be 40 and 30. So those kind of things, we saw those things.
You see, it's a process. What I think is important is that if there are logistic challenges, if there are issues, and nobody is acting, it may appear to be deliberate. And secondly, we must make sure that if Beavers is going to fail, let it fail randomly, not specific, so that you don't deploy those machines to an area of the opposition or in an area where people begin to have doubt as to whether this was a deliberate exercise.
And that's why they raise questions about collation of results, Prof. Because that is a big issue. This overnight collation of results, many are hoping that the introduction of deployment of beavers will address that. But collation will still happen at some level.
So at the ward.
Exactly. And then Yeah, but
senatorial headquarters as the
should we,
constituency.
because
level.
one key thing many hope, in fact they expected, they thought it was going to be the case this time, such that when those voting happens, you don't have to wait for that big general collation, such that once it happens at the ward level, you can almost know who is going to get it, but you have to wait still
No.
for collation.
I don't think that won't be right.
There still will be collation.
No, there will be final collation. For the presidential election, for example, it's going to be in Abuja. But before then, people already know. You already know where the trend is going. Why? Because at the PU level, you know what the results are. They are posted. The scores are posted. At the ward level, it's the same thing. So you already have the figures, and as the figures are being disclosed, they are being transmitted simultaneously. So the man in Abuja, the chairman of INEC, and the people there, they already know. So it's not going to be anything new. So you could see the time now when there was no technology, it is possible because you move results physically on papers. You could be waylaid, the result could be exchanged. This time around, at the polling unit level, that's the key.
But not at the ward level.
One Supreme Court judgment says that elections are won and are determined at the PU. That is why every party going to this election must have enough resources to deploy party agents across the polling units. Then you secure your party agent compromises, you can't blame anybody. Make sure party agent being deployed, they're people that you have confidence in.
If it's going to be that simple and straightforward.
I'm not saying it's simple. What I'm saying is that at least at the PU level, every party is going to be represented. That is where votes are going to, where votes where people are going to vote.
But the emphasis on the party agents.
Yeah.
Shouldn't we, because if you go out there, you vote, everything is uploaded smoothly, and the technology is there so that you can see the trajectory and where whatever is headed, why so much emphasis on party agents?
No, it's still good for your party agent to make sure. I will tell you why. Because of the level of illiteracy, rejected votes, and that I think is where parties should focus on. They're not talking about that, and it's a key issue. Rejected votes in this country, especially in some zones, they are phenomenal. Look, I can tell you, 2019, for example, the Southwest had about 19-point-something% of the total votes. Northwest had the largest. But the total number of votes cast by people in the Southwest is just about 6-point-something%, even though they had 19% registered voters. So that's one area. Apathy, you need to drive out people to make sure they vote. Not only that, they must vote correctly. What do you need party agents? In a very competitive election, one ballot, mistakenly thumb-printed or not rightly thumb-printed, can raise issues. In a polling unit where one party A had 19, party B had 19 as well. They have equal number of votes cast for them at that polling unit. There's this one ballot paper. You now need to determine whether that ballot paper should be, that ballot should be counted or not, because it was wrongly thumb-printed. Should it be rejected?
That's where attitude again will come in.
No, it's voter education. And parties are not doing enough of voter education. They leave everything to INEC to do. They leave them to non-governmental organizations to do. That's where they should go and work.
Let me ask you about beavers. INEC has said that there's not going to be any use of incident forms. I believe that we introduced incident forms in 2015 alongside the smart card readers to ensure that if the smart card reader fails, there will be an incident form to report the issue, and it was supposed to be used more like just in case, like a backup plan. In this instance, INEC is saying there will be no incident forms at all. Again, given our attitude, you just talked about, voter education and the situation that can arise, and it's something that can cause tension. Do you think it is wise for us to say that there will be no incident forms, given our propensity to get, for tension to creep in, maybe when there is a malfunction or when things are not going as planned with regards to the beavers?
Well, what I would suggest, I'm sure INEC is going to have its backup plans to accommodate instances that could not have been foreseen. But I think it's important to stress this. When the voters list is displayed, people should go and observe and be sure that their names are on the register. Because cases, incident form becomes necessary where, for example, your name is, you have your voter card, your name is not in the register. You know, it's a possibility. But that's why you need to raise objection. If you, for example, if you see a deceased person's name on the register and it's been displayed, you can go there as a party, as a serious party person and raise issue with the EO or the displaying officer that this person's name ought to be. My name is not there, I have my card. What is wrong? This can be amended. But this should be prior election issues that we cannot go there on the day of the election and begin to complain that my name is there.
So people need to take the display.
Yeah, we should take, we had to take it very seriously. And I think INEC also can be more active in this, in providing enough education for people, because elections are, if the voter register is displayed, no objection is raised, that's what's going to be used for, no amendment to it. It's going to be used, deployed on the day of the election. And if your name is not there, if many of your supporters, their names are not there, it will be too bad. And you see, it's administrative, their names can be omitted in bulk. But if you go there and challenge, definitely, and raise objection, then it probably can be taken care of. I think they're trying to, the human agency in election, and I think that's what technology is doing. You are reducing the involvement of human beings because they can wrongly deploy their discretion. Incident forms can be abused. Maybe that is why INEC, in its wisdom, is trying to remove that from the election process.
Well, the register is surely a big deal, but my colleague Ayo has got questions for you. Go ahead, Ayo.
Thank you, Chamberlain. Let me begin from where, that conversation has gotten as far as beavers. I recall the chairman of INEC making this comment, and I wish we could all see as well. He said, and I quote, "The most sensitive material for the commission now is the beavers. The device is even more important than the ballot papers and results sheets. INEC takes charge of beavers, and we won't entrust the devices to anyone." Given the logistics, the number of people that INEC is going to contract, so to speak, employ on ad hoc basis to do this job, what could be the reason for the chairman of INEC to say that we won't entrust the beavers to anyone? Is there some vulnerability anywhere?
No, it's a key. Beavers, ballot papers, your register had become key election infrastructure. It's like the live wire of the election. So for it to be entrusted into anybody's hand, be taking a big risk. So it makes sense not to entrust. You can entrust. No, look, ballot papers, for example, they are regarded as sensitive documents. And that is why, as a security document, with all kinds of security features when printed. So you cannot allow just anybody to handle them. They must be trusted hands in INEC, whether as ad hoc staff or as permanent staff, that in whose custody those machines will be. So it makes sense to say that. But it's a key election infrastructure.
Well, the reason I asked that, Prof, is, we have had, top officials of INEC in various parts of the country indicted for some electoral malpractices, tampering with results and all of that. And how better could the trust level be if people at such levels couldn't be trusted? I'm just wondering what could be the reason for saying that. If how do we know who can be trusted? We can't write trust on the face. So I'm just wondering if there is any vulnerability. If it is given into the wrong hands, what makes it vulnerable? Especially because, as INEC has said over and over again, it is almost foolproof. Access to it can only be, gotten at INEC.
No, I think, Ayo, what is important is that if you entrusted 100 officials of INEC with a document, and you have instances where 1% of your trust was misplaced, you shouldn't bother about that. What you should get worried about is if the majority tends to misplace your trust. That's when you should get worried. Of course, there will be 1 or 2 people who will not use their discretion judiciously, and they will take decisions that are really unethical. So that shouldn't be a big challenge for us. You should always have that, and that's why there are sanctions. People make mistakes, they make silly judgment, they get penalized for it. That shouldn't stop INEC from still trusting. Oh, of course, a few people from the university that has to be returning officers, they made a mess of the job, and they were sanctioned, they were disciplined. What I think, what we should be communicating to the public is where the majority of the people entrusted with a particular sensitive document now misplace that trust, that is when INEC chairman and the commission should get worried. Where just a minority misplace the trust, I wouldn't be bothered. Of course, in any exam, some students will cheat, but not majority of the students. Look, the Professor Oloyede-led administration in JAM, some staff entrusted with certain documents, some people were caught, but you look at the merit, the majority tendency is that the commission is not doing badly. If there are cases where people are entrusted with certain documents, misplaced the trust, were they sanctions, were they dealt with? And the answer is yes, they were dealt with. That's the important message.
Well, that's important, Prof. Most certainly.
You cannot have a completely foolproof. Look, at your airport, people will sneak into the airport. They want going to the hangar. They want to, So, but at the end of the day, were they apprehended by criminal officials? If the answer is yes, then there's no cause for alarm at all.
Okay. Well,
there are human beings who are reckless, who will behave recklessly, but they should, at least the hands of the law should deal with them.
Well, that's taken, Prof. You said earlier how important the 2023 elections, are. And so an error by INEC officials for a general election, a national election, so to speak, the results would have been declared, and the consequence of having to go back, perhaps to reconduct the elections and all of that. I think those are some of the concerns that come here. Yes, they will be arrested, the law is going to deal with them, but the consequence of their action may have gone quite far. So it raises the question then, Prof, in your opinion and from your experience, is there anything that needs to be adjusted, to be worked on, to be improved upon in the recruitment or engagement process of INEC ad hoc staff for general elections, especially the 2023 elections?
A good question. A good question. Yeah. You see, the dexterity of election officials, their professionalism is very important. What do I mean? Training the trainers. Of course, there's no way INEC can go around the country, but INEC can engage people, train them, and these people in turn will go to the grassroots and train people at the grassroots level, ad hoc staff. Fortunately, over the years, in 2010, INEC had accumulated national assets in terms of training resources invested in NYC members who are often used as ad hoc staff. So they already have their list. They can be recruited. They can be recruited at short notice. You don't need any elaborate training for them. But for beavers, the training, I think, must have been concluded by INEC now. It is ongoing. But I know the Electoral Institute of INEC, they take training of ad hoc staff very, very seriously. So I think with that training, there'll be skirmishes here and there. There'll be the possibility of manipulation. But what I think the Electoral Act as amended are taking good care of that, are taking good cognizance of that, in that what you are looking for is the majority. The person who had won in an election, will he have won even with all these skirmishes, electoral skirmishes here and there? If the answer is yes, of course. You don't, because of these minor imperfections here and there, there will always be imperfection in the affairs of human beings. What I think is important is that whether the person who had won in an election was the person who had, in the opinion of the majority of the people, had won that election. Look at Brazil. 14, one candidate 50 point something, the other candidate 49 point something. It's a very narrow margin. And that is where perfection, dexterity, training must be factored in. Because you cannot afford to make mistakes at that level. So there will be issues with any election all over the world. There will be issues. What is important is the mindset that Amarachi referred to. If your mindset is good, you accommodate. You see, it's dynamic. You win this election, next election, you have lost in this election, you can win the next election. But that is not to say you have to throw out the baby with the bad water. Okay. No, we shouldn't lose hope. And I think I want to give credit to the political elites in this country. As turbulent as it is, they are holding the country together. As difficult as the environment is, in the midst of banditry, in the midst of all of this, I think we must not lose hope. We are building a nation. Okay. And in building a nation, you cannot expect but stumble here and there. Okay.
Well, Prof, we wished you a happy birthday earlier. And your birthday is exactly 115 days before the general election. And the first of them is the presidential and National Assembly elections, and the second, governorship and House of Assembly elections and the rest. So I just wanted to find out if there is if there is a reason why the governorship, well, the presidential elections and the national elections are coming ahead of the state elections, the governorship and House of Assembly elections. I mean, couldn't it have been? I just want to know if there is any reason for that.
They could have gone any. There's no way it goes that people will not raise issues. That's at the discretion. The Electoral Act is very clear. We cannot dictate. Nigerians cannot dictate to INEC. It's at the discretion of INEC to decide which election comes to. And I'm sure it has its reason for placing one election first and for the other. We'll come to it one day when all elections can be held on the same day. We'll soon get to that because of the bandwagon effect that one election have over the other. But I'm sure INEC has its good reasons for doing that.
Well, Prof, just one more thing from me before we take a break. There are those who have been wondering how they can confirm their names on the voter register. Part of what the law says is that people should be able to see their names, the voter register, on the website of INEC. And questions as to whether or not that has been done. We've tried to find out. We've not been able to see it. Do you see that as a problem? The fact that people can't see their names on a website for voters?
I think INEC had improved on this, the device. You can be in the comfort of your room and you can use your mobile phone, if it is Android, to check whether your name is in the register. Those who probably cannot check, from what I read in the papers, will be those in the continuous voter registration whose card are yet to be ready. Others, I think there shouldn't be much issues with finding out whether your name is there. What I think is that Nigerians, we don't go out there to know what government is doing. People obtain the cards, the voter card, just for other uses, not primarily for the purpose of election. I think for those who are interested voters, by now they should have known whether if their cards are ready, because INEC is complaining that people are not coming out to collect their cards. You know, people should go out there and collect their cards and take election more serious. We can't be lamenting all days. We can't be lamenting all year round that government is this, government is what we are right. The majority of the elites, they won't go out there. Look at the voter turnout. No, less than 50% in most cases, less than 30%. In standalone elections, it can be as low as 29 or 28%. We should improve on this. It's a civic responsibility.
Well, Prof,
you know, the nation expects us to take elections very seriously because they determine the future, the direction where we are going, in terms of policy formulation and policy recommendation and policy implementation. We cannot be completely nonchalant about the future of our country.
It is interesting,
show more active interest. will advocate for more involvement by every one of us.
It's interesting that you talk about the voter, apathy issue. But I'm pretty sure that that's one of the issues that my colleagues will want to take up with you, because there are concerning collection of voter cards, INEC needs to be upfront, because on the one hand, INEC is saying people aren't coming out to collect their voter cards, but there are those who go to the places where they're supposed to get their voter cards and they're not able to get them. We'll talk a little more on that when we return from this break. Please stay with us. Thank you for staying with us. Prof, just one last question from me. What, in your opinion, and from your experience, perhaps also from data, could be responsible for the voter apathy that you cited earlier just before the break? Because on the average, it would seem like the highest percentage of voters we've had over the years has been maybe 30, 35% tops, even from 1999. So one wonders, what, in your opinion, is the reason for that? Is it a lack of trust in the system, or a lack of political education, or inadequate voter education?
You've answered the question, Sayo. You've posed the question, you already provided answers. I think a major reason, to me, is the complete disconnect between government or the state and citizenry. People have voted since 1999. They've been voting, trooping out in large numbers to vote. What they get in return is utter disappointment. And they will say to themselves, look, I'm going to wait on that. I could recall in one of the villages in Oyo State, where I monitored the election in 1 year, I think 2011. The villagers were in the sun, trying to, first of all, register to vote or doing accreditation, and it was on a very, very sunny day, very hot weather, and the queue was not moving. Some of them, in anger, they left the queue, and they said, look, you're just disturbing us. What is in this for us? What are we going to get at the end of the day? We still will drink well water, where cows drink from, the pool of water, stagnant pool of water. So what are the benefits? That we're just assisting you people to legitimize your reign of terror. So why should we queue up? So they left in anger. So, and I think that's the general perception, that look, how is the local government impacting on my life? How is the state government impacting on my life? What is in need for me? I've become poorer and poorer since 1999, and you're asking me to come and just endorse you again. You will, in any case, you will do what you are used to doing. So that's, I think, is a great minus for our democratization project. Democracy should connect to the good life. Democracy should have meaning in the people's life, so that people just don't see going to the polls as a ritual. It must impact on people's lives. It's a great disincentive for
us to wind down on this, Prof. Some of the, because I think part of the objective or part of the essence of some of these is to make the elections as transparent as possible and believable as possible to a lot of people. And eliminating all of those questions where there are doubts will go a long way in ensuring that it shows up that belief that people will have in the system or the process. For instance, I mean, when you talk about the possible bandwagon effect that having a presidential election first will have on having perhaps governorship, National Assembly elections later, it's there. I mean, people have seen it before. They keep talking about it. So perhaps it may not be out of place to say, you know what, since it's technology, the presidential election, the governorship, National Assembly, have it on the same day. And then perhaps, yeah, for instance, if they had that on the same day, that will eliminate that bandwagon effect. Wouldn't that be a good idea?
Certainly so, but I think we should tread gently and softly. You know, it used to be separate elections for all of them before.
Before the introduction of beavers.
Yes.
But there's beavers now.
Yes.
There isn't any much job to be done in terms of sorting. So everything is on the same day. Well, it's straightforward.
I wouldn't know what informed the decision, but definitely I know there might be technological limitations to doing all of this on the same day. But I think we're going to get there. We know people are also talking of electronic machine. So that at beavers, you are accredited, and you can exercise your franchise. Yeah. Then maybe on the same day you can just thumbprint.
Yeah. Then they also suggest if they have the pictures of the presidential candidates alongside their party logo, would that be anything? Would there be anything wrong with that, to give people more information and they know who we're voting for? Yeah.
I think party symbols are more easier to recognize than faces on the picture. You know, the Mokwe that I see now, if I were to see her in the photograph, might turn out to be...
But you know, some people confuse...
Some people might not even be able to...
Many will confuse the symbols. But when they see the face of the person they want to vote for, that helps them drive their point. So lots of people think that may be a good idea.
Some people might not have seen their presidential candidate before. But they will know the symbol of the party. They might not have... You know, talking of people in the remotest areas of the country, might not have seen the faces of the presidential candidate before.
There are too many logos,
and they might have challenges.
Too many logos.
But when you, if you let's be honest, between symbols and photographs can look alike. Symbols may never look alike for people.
No, you're not replacing one for the other, though.
I think what we need to do is intensify our voter education, so that people will be able to identify. So the logo of the APC, the logo of PDP, the logo of Labour Party, the logo of ANPP or whatever. They are different.
Yeah, but for the presidential, it's key, it's crucial. So whatever can be done to ensure that people eliminate doubts.
You're talking of photographs.
There's nothing wrong with it. It won't cost us any expensive much money,
I guess. It's a lot of money again.
No, but how much money is that going to cost, Prof? Okay. Then in Kenya, for instance, you know, part of what they were contesting, I think the Raila Odinga was arguing that their law provides that there shouldn't be any unilateral announcement of the results. It has to be majority of the members of the commission who are there seated and voting. So when they unanimously agree that the result is truly valid, then the head of the commission can announce it. As opposed to, we just have a system where only the chairman of the commission can announce. So whatever they announce at that point in time is it. So if we adopt a system where it's a lot more democratized, you have a lot more people on the platform who say, well, we agree with this, majority of people vote, then you announce. What's wrong with that?
See, the danger in that is this. You are shifting the decision of the people to the court of INEC. I'm coming. Just a minute.
No, Prof. The results are already there.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
It's just the announcement of the results.
All that the chairman is doing is not doing anything afresh.
Yeah.
It's not reinventing the wheel. All he's doing is just to announce these are the results collated from the field.
The same thing for the members. Yeah, if they all agree, they look to the process.
They will have met. They monitor elections. They monitor from Abuja. The National Commission, they are not in the field. It's only the chairman. The chairman sometimes, like we record Jega, will go to some polling unit in this federal capital territory and return to the office just to be receiving complaints and to be resolving some of the challenges from the field. So at the end of the day, you can't, because it's like asking that the commissioners, you have 12 of them, plus the chairman making 13. It's like you're asking them to cast vote. That would be dangerous.
No, they're not voting in the manner of...
They participate at every critical stage of the collation of the election. They're out there, seated. It's not in the public place.
So what would be wrong if they all say, for what we've seen, this collates or this... I think it corroborates.
If they disagree,
it corresponds with what we've seen.
Disagreement there. Don't forget, party agents it's a full all.
No, but Prof, the law doesn't recognize their voice if they disagree.
No, but
our law doesn't recognize
the chairman is the returning officer for the presidential election. You cannot have 2, 3 returning officers for the governorship. You appoint somebody to be the returning. They cannot be contesting who's going to do this.
Well, we won't be the first country to do it, Prof.
No,
other countries do it.
No,
which you just
I want to
cited.
see what are the demerits, what is wrong with the current thing we are running. Don't let us add to the challenges we have.
No, it's further democratizing the process. It's a democracy.
They don't see
so
it in secret.
as opposed to putting so much weight on the shoulder of the chairman of the commission, assuming politicians want to manipulate him, they can target him. But if they know that, well, there has to be a process. In the judiciary, don't we see it? There's a majority judgment, there's a minority judgment. So that's the same thing.
No, I'm asking you, what is wrong in the, because the current system is very aching. It's very similar to what you are advocating now. Or from what I know, when returns begin, when people are bringing the returns are coming from the field, when results are coming from the field, especially at the state level, they are collated openly.
I get your point, Prof.
Yes.
But the same thing is done at the election stage, where after the vote, the party agents or the polling agents, party agents, pardon me, are supposed to look at the result and say, yes, this is what we've seen. They all participate, but the commission says, the law says they also have to have a say in saying, look, these results correspond with what you've seen, yes or no. The law provides for that. So why can't we have the same thing at the highest level?
No, I honestly, I cannot see any additional value that is going to make, honestly, because from what I know, it's an open thing. It's very open. Everybody will be there, the commissioners will be there, observers will be there. It's not possible for the chairman to do anything. And if results stop coming in, they adjourn. And every commissioner will go to the office, then reassemble again. I don't see what value will be added from the current practice.
Okay, we need to go, but
there might be occasions when there will be disagreement. That is in a very tight election. Maybe that may work, that may become an issue when elections are very tight. When now it's like the commission had to pass a judgment.
But there's only one person whose voice will be heard, and that's that of the chairman. Of the
can you hear
at the moment,
voices of two
from our
people?
law.
The chairman is not, it's the commission. Whatever he does, he's doing it in the name of the commission. There's nowhere where the chairman is referred to, except as the returning officer for the presidential election.
All right, Prof, we need to wrap up at this time. We do thank you very much indeed for coming on this morning. Professor Lai Olorode is former National Commissioner with INEC. Thank you very much, and happy birthday again, and we wish you all the best.
No, really, no happiness in my birthday. You know, I went into the university in 1981 with the exit of late Professor Adi Ajayi, who was then the Vice Chancellor of the University of Lagos, was booted out by the military. I'm taking my exit at a point after over 40 years of teaching, you know, to the best of my knowledge, the university system has not changed.
Oh dear.
We are being owed salaries, there are no facilities in the university, 40 years of lamentation. That's why I'm not happy taking my exit, but of course I have to leave.
Clearly food for thought.
Attained the age of 70.
Clearly food for thought, but all the same, we do thank you for your service.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
As well. We will be back in just a moment. Stay with us.
Thank you for staying with us. Professor Yemi Oke joins us this morning to discuss energy, and he is a professor of energy and electricity law at the University of Lagos. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
University of Lagos, I mean, just a quick one. You heard Prof, you know, his closing remarks, you know, what's your take on his closing remarks about, you know, 40 years of lamentation?
I guess the lamentation will definitely continue.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know whether some of us who endure for 40 years are well over 10 years in the system. There's nothing to celebrate. And Nigerians are aware that actually there's really nothing to celebrate in the academia. And we're talking about the future of the country. Well, maybe I should leave it at that.
Do you think the issues are even being raised to the right authorities to discuss them?
Okay, this is what I'm saying. I'm not speaking for ASU because I don't have the mandate of ASU to speak for ASU. But the challenge we are faced with is we have universities designed, programs designed for 50 students. Over time, that has grown to 350 students. The facilities have not been improved. It's deteriorating. For me, I teach law. I'm having challenges teaching my students. And we are saying I should continue. What that means is the standard is going to be lowered. It's going to get as bad as students after graduating will get to the law school and turn their law reports, get to the law course and turn law reports upside down. Because, and you're going to face the same challenge or challenges in the medical school where nurses and doctors are not being properly trained. You're going to face the same thing in the engineering department where civil engineers are not able to construct or supervise skyscrapers and all these flyovers. You're going to get the same thing in the Department of Aeronautic Engineering where people are trained to fly planes and drones and the rest, and they can't. It's a scary situation. The picture is not really looking good at all. But then I don't think we're ready because our nation is not ready. But then, let's see. We're talking about the future of the country, really.
Well, let's just leave that there for now. But, sensitive. When you say that, it only brings to mind also the challenges in the energy sector. It would seem like we, or rather, would you say that really, that, we have prepared we have installed capacities that are not able to take care of the needs that we really have? Is that the case, or we are just underutilizing what we have?
We don't have what it takes to get us to where we need to get to. And we're not even optimizing the little that we have. I recall, before privatization, which is the starting point, we had about 4,800 installed capacity, and we're actually distributing well over 3,500. Privatization of the power sector is almost 10 years now, if not more. With the noise and hyped expectations, we're even generating less and we're distributing less. It's like during the time of NITEL, assuming we had 100,000 lines, then with the coming on board of MTN, Glo, Etisalat, and all of them, we're now having like 30,000 lines. You'll be worried. That's a picture. And we're not facing the fact. That's a picture. We talk of stranded capacity. We talk of capacities, power that is generated but not distributed because it's stuck somewhere. How does that benefit an average man on the street? How does that benefit Nigerian businesses and homes? How does that benefit small-scale enterprises, all those artisans who really need power to do that stuff?
You may want to explain that a little further, and I'm pretty sure maybe Mark or Chamberlain will want to raise that with you earlier, because we read it on the front page of the newspaper this morning. And previously, we've also received information that discos are rejecting load.
Let me get to, I think I'm going to put Markwe and Chamberlain on the spot. Thank God they're in Abuja. They've escaped my aggression this morning. We sat here almost 10 years ago when the whole thing just started. We're talking about what we needed to do. And I said, we got it wrong. And I said, Nigerian banks are going to be in trouble. And we sat here. The videos are there in your archives. I said about 5 Nigerian banks were going to go down the drain with their exposure to the power sector because money did not come in. I think we already had 4 banks went down. And I said the discos are not solvent and that the discos are not buoyant. As we speak, 90% of the discos are technically insolvent, and they are supposed to be getting powers to my homes and your home and in the industries. And it's scary. It's really, really depressing to me. I've written severally I've spoken severally. We've shouted terms without number. And it's like we seem to be turning things upside down. Simple, commonsensical things that we ought to do as a nation. And I'm really wondering, I really need to see the political players now, the actors, talking more about power. We cannot grow as a nation if you don't fix that. That is the engine of development. That's the only thing that can speed up our development. I know what industries are closing down. No industry can survive on diesel. It's difficult to have your own captive generation. It's a lot more expensive. Everything is dollarized. We can't be talking of solarization. Solarization is at best you put some 1 or 2 points of bulbs in your home. That's not industrialization. That cannot power even an ordinary barber. How many of them will now be using, you can't even have petrol as we speak. This is out of the reach of an average Nigerian. Industries are closing up. Eateries, you know how many eateries have closed up? How can you sustain your restaurant, your eateries on diesel? They are closing down. I don't want to mention names. You know the eateries that we're used to, that where we buy meat pies and donut and fried rice and chicken. They're gone. What killed them? Power. It's not sustainable. And we're saying, okay, it beats my imagination. Before we started privatization, we had well over 4,000 megawatts. Nigeria wasn't this huge in terms of population. We never had this size in terms of industries. Now we're generating less.
But what do you think is responsible for that? Because, for instance, one of the presidential candidates is saying that he is going to remove the electricity or power, electricity generation in particular, from the exclusive list and put it in the...
No, if you have Chamberlain and Obama, we sat down here, we read the Constitution. It's never been in the exclusive list. One of the issues I had with them, we got it wrong. It's clear. If you have your Constitution, you can bring it, anybody can bring it. Read it. Electricity power is in the concurrent list, second schedule to the Nigerian 1999 Constitution as amended. It's never changed. We have item 13 of that Constitution, which talks about federal government, and when you talk about grid-based generation, national grid issues, setting up institutions, NERC and the rest, fine. Then immediately after item 13, we have item 14, which talks of off-grid. So off-grid simply means generation transmission not on the national grid. And it says states' houses of assembly will have power to make laws, not in respect of anything, in respect of 1, generation, 2, transmission, 3, distribution, all inclusive powers, all 3, in the houses of assembly to make laws. It also gives House of Assembly power to set up institutions like equivalent of NERC. And I sat here and said, I expected LASEC, something like Lagos State Electricity Regulatory Commission, Ogun State Electricity Regulatory Commission, Kogi State Electricity Regulatory Commission, Kaduna State Electricity Regulatory Commission, Yola State Electricity Regulatory Commission, because states have constitutional powers to generate, transmit, and distribute off-grid. I got sad each time I realized states will have to clap their hands behind and beg federal government for licenses to generate within their states.
So what is there, in your opinion? What's the local standing in law for them to be doing that? Because
states, it took me a long time, because even when Mr. Fashola was there, we were having, and of course, we expected so much when it got overwhelmed. And nobody agreed that states could generate. But somewhere along the line, they shifted their ground. They now realized, oh, this is a constitutional issue, state could generate. Where they got it wrong, federal government says they are in charge of rural electrification. Rural electrification cannot be a federated structure. It's even wrong to have federated grid arrangement in the 21st century. How can you expect development lumping Lagos, Abuja, Rivers on the same national grid? Those states are humongous, they're huge, and they should have their own separate grids. I even said in these studios that the best we could do is to have a regional grid. And if states are able to generate, transmit, and distribute at their own levels, states like Bayelsa may have excess in terms of generation capacity, and they said to other states. I even said these schools should be cross-lances. I said a whole lot of things, and we're not there yet, and I'm not seeing signs that we're about to take off and get there. The problem is huge. I'm not hearing clearly from the political actors how they're going to fix the power sector.
Is it because it is overwhelming, or because no one really has the answers?
I guess it's because of the depth of knowledge of how to operationalize the sector. Even fundamentally, I said 10 years ago with my anchor, Chamberlain and Maokwe, I said the law that we are relying on is unconstitutional because federal government, the Constitution says concurrent, but the Electric Power Sector Reform Act is now administering the sector as a federated entity, as if it's a concurrent thing. And I said, even in the law, when it was passed, there were well over 250 to 300 errors in that law that we need to get done away with. The Electric Power Sector Reform Act was never intended to operationalize the power sector. It goes by its name, Electric Power Sector Reform Act. It was a reformative act. It was meant to midwife the privatization. But since 2005, the law that was meant to midwife privatization is now being wrongly, incompetently administered as a law to operationalize the power sector. Your guess is as good as mine. It's not going to work. The size of the engine, you now put it in a trailer. It's not going to. There are a lot of radical steps, radical reforms, radical policy issues we ought to have deployed. I'm not seeing signs that will make me comfortable that we are deploying it or about to deploy it, or there is knowledge-based engagement that will lead to effective deployment of this.
Prof, let's go back to something you said just a second ago. You said there are about 250-something errors in the law that we're using now for the privatization of the power sector.
Yeah.
Documented errors, and they have not been corrected.
Let me tell you what. No, I don't. You see,
I'm asking because, I mean, if we are using the law, an erroneous law, it begs the question then, of course, perhaps it is part of the reason that the contracts are faulty and the whole arrangement of the sector is as conflicting, so to speak, as it is.
This. When I wrote the first book, of course, by the way, the electricity law is a new field of law that I pioneered, really, because we had NEPA, HACS, PCL, those laws scattered, but there weren't really research effort to put them together and start to analyze until I started. And I branched it off from energy law. And I've done quite a bit of work on that extensively, written books and the rest. What we discovered, when I was doing my first book in 2009 to 10, I put the law, I put the constitution, I put the framework, global best practices, and I saw serious, worrisome errors. And I approached them, I said, this is not looking good. This is going to create problems. Even we discussed PCAF. You know, PCAF is Power Consumer Assistance Fund, which is meant to be a kind of intervention to mitigate increase in electricity tariffs. There's so many errors. So when I now said, was like, okay, these are my views, just preliminarily. And they called me, this presidential something on energy, they called me. You know what they said? They said, yes. Then I was a doctor. They said, hey, doc, yes, fantastic, but now we just privatize. Can we now start to change the law? I've been recently privatized the electricity assets. Say, well, they needed to wait after privatization might have matured before they start to tinker with the law. I said, fine, I had no problems with that. We're all trying to make our country work passionately. One of the presidential candidates years back, when we were doing some research forecast, he said, well, you know, you young man, I only see you when you go to all those media houses talking of power. And it struck me when he said, well, I was in a law firm that started the Iron thing. With the current vice president, a lot of work, overnight, we were working. That was an experimental project that should have been allowed to work. If Aaron had worked, by now, almost all the states in the federation will have followed suit and they will have been self-sufficient in terms of electricity generation, transmission, and distribution. But for needless political reasons, Aaron was killed. The same thing, Lagos Metro was killed. For how long? But for how long are we going to continue toying with the future of this country when we could do the right thing?
Now, you said something I was trying not to ask you about Enron, but now that you have brought it up. If it was not against the Constitution for a state government to set up a system like Enron, is it a challenge of law that it was not challenged against the federal government at the time to ensure it worked?
Let me give you something that will probably make you sad. I'm aware, give it to Raji Fashola, set up IPP in Ikeja here and in Lagos on the Highland Marina. Our office was in Marina. A lot of effort, a lot of work. And I think the one in Ikeja had about 18 megawatt capacity. Then, I think maybe slightly more, the entire Alausa Secretariat will not use more than 12 to 13 megawatts in the day. So, and the smart governor felt, okay, now we have this capacity, like 3 or 4 hydro megawatts in the day. In the night, the entire 18 or 20 megawatts is hydro. Can I start to deal with some industries around the Ikeja so that I can give them electricity? At least they will run over all through the night and we'll have some this. I mean, that will bring some money back to the purse of the Lagos state government. You know what happened? The disco went to court. They said Ikeja was their franchise. And I said, that's one of the issues. You franchise the whole of Ikeja and somebody had megawatts to distribute. You are saying it cannot distribute. Okay, you go ahead and distribute megawatts to them. You say you don't have. You know, it's annoying. Those are the kind of faulty things we did. And we still continue to do in the power sector. And nobody seems to be ready to change this thing. We need radical steps. Those who really love this country, I say, come, this is not going to work. Left to me. I said, I'm not going to undo the privatization because we told them not to do it when they did it. You know what I will do? Federal government has stakes in these entities. I will call them. Federal government will yank off his equity. Federal government should drop its equity to like 10 and give the 30% to serious-minded investors so that they will dilute the shares. The new investors will have controlling shares and they take hold of the discos and the gencos. And they run it successfully. Money did not come in. When they were branding that they have the financial muscles, the technical muscles to run the power sector, we say these guys were just selling these assets as a means of political patronage. For the first time, President Buhari mentioned the same thing. He said, come, errors were made. So now they bought the entities, they were now borrowing money from Nigerian banks. They are going to sell electricity in Naira. When they bought those entities, Naira was 161 to $1. Now, dollar is 800. How much of a tariff adjustment are you going to do to equate that? So it's difficult for them to even repay their loans. Loans that are dollarized, Dollarized loan, and you need to generate your megawatts of billions in naira. And you said the power sector will work. It's collapsing on all of us, and I just hope, honestly,
it seems you're raising more questions. I thought we were going to have, I don't know. Well, Markwe, you've called her out, so she's ready to take you on. Markwe, go ahead.
Indeed, I still remember a lot of the conversation which we had in Lagos. I mean, we've had these conversations over time, and we've also seen developments in the power sector, for good or for bad, over time as well. Indeed, as you rightly pointed out, power is on the concurrent list. You have been saying it, you know, like a broken record, that states do have some role to also provide power, that they are not hampered by the Constitution. And we've seen a number of states, you know, try to key into that. I think at that time, Ogun State was also trying to do something with regards to generation of electricity and also trying to distribute. We do not know how far they eventually went. But with this issue of monopoly, you know, the fact that a number of the distribution companies have their franchise areas, so to speak. I do know that when the former governor of Lagos State became Minister of Power, there was something he tried to do to break the monopoly of the distribution companies, which was that, you know, anyone who was generating at least 2 megawatts could distribute around a certain area. I do not know if you're privy to that particular innovation, and if you are, you know, how that worked in your own estimation.
Thank you, Marpe. You're actually talking about the eligible customer regime. Eligible customer regime was killed. Eligible customer regime was to allow manufacturing concerns, right, companies, to be able to buy or procure power directly from GENCOs. The policy was fantastic. They rolled out the policy. And then the discos again went to court. They got an injunction because, hey, you have Nestle around me, you have Guinness around me, you have these companies that are my major customers. By the time you ask them to buy directly from the GENCOs, I'm going to be in trouble because basically I'm surviving on them. They went to court. And I sensed, because I followed the debate, a lot of things happened behind the scene. And then there was a reversal of the policy saying, oh, no, the policy had some errors. It wasn't properly thought out. We are reversing it. And, you know, I have so much to say. I hope you're not getting me to talk about my inaugural lecture because it's coming, and I'm going to unleash a lot of things. Is an answer in search of a question, a partner's prognosis of the Nigerian electricity law. I'm going to say a lot about the power sector. If you need to get it right, the document will be there. But we're not getting it right. Similar to what Marpe asked, the eligible customer regime that was not allowed to fly. Of course, most of the manufacturers went the way of captive. They started developing their own mini-grid, and it's still not, the policy wasn't allowed to see the light of day. Similar to that was what was called CAPME. That's like a credit a scheme that allows consumers to pay for meters. And over time, the cost of meters will be defrayed from your billings. I love CAPME because a lot of Nigerians were getting meters. But now, they changed CAPME within 2 years to MAP, that is Meter Asset Provider Regulation. And they were trying to extricate metering from the GENCOs, sorry, from the DISCOs. And I'm telling you in the studios, that the DISCOs are still almost directly in charge of metering. They still have their cronies selling meters under MAP. They will tell you, no, it's not only the DISCO that is doing it, it's one company that is doing it. You still pay. We pay huge amount of money, more than what we were paying when we had capping. Capping, I think, was about 35,000 or thereabout, but now you pay as much as 150. I just had, I just bought 4, and I know what Nigerians pass through. You queue for days, and your businesses will be suffering. Your homes will. I mean, you know, we've had series of policy somersaults, which isn't good for the polity. And I'm optimistic that whoever gets there, in fact, before they even get there, Nigerians should scrutinize their power policy manifesto. What do you have to say about power, so that we don't continue closing businesses? Businesses will not continue dying in quick succession. So we need to know what they want to do about energy and power, and Nigerians should react to it appropriately.
Sounds a lot to me like you're asking each one of them to sit at a panel, and then you'll be asking them one after the other.
Honestly, Nigerians deserve to know.
Most certainly, because the issues are not just going to go away. It's not just going to go away.
It's affecting everybody.
But, you know, unfortunately, as you said, so much to say, so little time. We have to thank you very much for being here this morning. Hopefully, we'll be able to continue this conversation another time.
Thank you.
Professor Yemi Oke is a professor of energy and electricity law at the University of Lagos. Thanks again for your time this morning. Well, we have some of your own contribution to the program this morning. Let's begin with this one by Kamaldeen Oladeji, who says, on the umpire, in order to reduce infractions in public issues, there is a great need to bring to the minimal level the human interface. This call for deployment of technology, INEC should work for the use of e-platforms in order to deliver the onerous task of conducting elections, considering the level of desperation of politicians to win at all costs.
Well, this one is from Ebuka. He says, I did my PVC registration on the 26th of January 2022, and up till this moment of this tweet, I am still told voter not found upon checking for my registration status online. I think it's best for INEC to make comprehensive list of voter available on their portal.
Well, I know they're going to make it available at some point where you can go and, you know, confirm at the place where you're supposed to vote. So then you can raise an objection, and hopefully you might be included into the register. This one is from Professor Inakena, who says, INEC must also become astute than they've been, more intrepid, stronger in spirit and intelligence, become members of a new generation to overcome petty prejudice owing to their ultimate allegiance to nationhood and not parties or politicians in building a new Nigeria.
This one comes, okay, Ayo.
Yes, very quickly, Henry Okeke has this one. In recent time, the assurance and reassurance of credibility from INEC has raised the hopes of the Nigerian electorate. However, INEC has more to do proactively to ensure that the hopes of the electorate are not ruined by foreseeable incidents.
Pastor Alpha Cross says, INEC have recorded massive improvements in their operations and exercises and have expressed confidence ahead of next year's general elections. Nigerians expect political parties not to frustrate them. No thanks to driving ambition.
And Festus Akimboyewa says, no doubt, that's talking about electricity now. He says, no doubt only greed is thoroughly overwhelmed. Our country is blessed with coal, gas, petroleum, solar, and hydro, all in abundance. And Nigerians should have no business with darkness if governments can properly identify the obstacles in electricity generation and distribution. You have any more?
No, I think that wraps it up then. So there you go. That is it with your messages and today's program. Many thanks to all of you. We will see you again tomorrow. I am Chamberlain Usal.
Thank you for watching. Have a great day ahead. I'm Malpo Ogun Yusuf.
A troll of messages on the last conversation we just had about INEC, beg your pardon, about energy. Go ahead and check them out on our Twitter page, Sunrise Daily Now. I'm Aya Makinde. Have a wonderful rest of your day.